I'm going to tell you why I believe we're going to have a massive cycle top starting in 2026 and going into 2027. It'll be similar to how the last bull market of the last cycle seemingly started in October of 2020 and then continue on for 13 months until it topped out in November of 2021. And how I believe that a lot of people are selling themselves short due to misinformation and, frankly, superstition. There's this concept of 4-year cycle zombies that I've been talking about for the last 3 to 6 months now. They're the type of people who have blinders on and only focus on TA and don't consider any other macroeconomic data. The ones who believe that the chart will look a certain way just because it looked that way last cycle. I've been saying that this cycle's top will be in 2027 and we're going to get a good end-of-year rally this year in 2025. But these 4-year cycle zombies are going to create resistance on the market and dump at the slightest green candle. And that they'll do that just because they think the cycle top is this year in November and December. But something happened that was unforeseen. For many months now, we had been under the assumption that we were going to get 3 interest rate cuts at the end of the year, so the market became certain about it and priced that in. And that's just because the market loves certainty. But then Powell came out and removed that certainty from us. So the market had to correct based on the uncertainty. At the same time, we had the longest government shutdown in history that sucked liquidity out of the market. And it caused everything to go down, down, down. Earlier this year, I went into a question phase. Is it possible that cycle tops are caused by the halvings? I mean, this cycle, we had a new all-time high before the halving even happened. And you have to also consider that the first Bitcoin top in June of 2011, the first bull run that's rarely talked about, had happened before the first halving even happened. So then I started to believe that the same people who believe that the cycle tops are based on the halvings are also the same people who believe that 4-year cycles are 4-year cycles because they've always been that way, which simply isn't true. The first cycle top was in June of 2011. The second cycle top was in December of 2013. That makes the first 2 cycles 2.5 years each. So because there have been 4 cycles, that means only 2 of the 4 cycles were 4 years. So then I try to see if there are any flaws in his halving theory. So mathematically, it just doesn't make any sense. The argument is that suddenly half of the coins are mined and that produces scarcity. Okay, I get it. It's scarcity, but is it really that much? We're only cutting in half new coins that come into existence, not the entire supply. 21 million coins don't suddenly become 10.5 million coins. Let's take the 2017 top, for example. We went from a low of around $200 in 2015, in early 2015, and we topped out in 2017 around $20,000. That's like 100x. Did we cut the entire supply of Bitcoin from 21 million coins to 210,000 coins? No, not enough scarcity was produced to cause those multipliers. So what was it then? In around March or April, I started to follow a guy called Colin Talks Crypto, and he believed we were about to experience a blast-off period starting around May 1st, and that Bitcoin was going to reach around 150K within the next month or so. While that wasn't entirely correct, he was onto something. He was only considering the global M2 from the central banks around the world, even though the United States was still in QT. But he did send me down a path where I started to look into more and more data. I went to the St. Louis Fed charts and I pulled up the M2 and I noticed something. Obviously, this was from COVID. This was a massive and sudden burst of liquidity, right? This is the M2. This is based on a month-over-month rate of change. And this happened in April of 2020. We had our cycle top in November, a year and a half later. Then I went back to the previous cycle that topped out in 2017. And I noticed 2 money supply tops. The first one, obviously something happened the next month. It went into contraction. So this was a correction. Then another one. So like 2 sudden bursts of liquidity. So then I went to the 2013 cycle where Bitcoin topped in December 2013. And look what happened beforehand. Look what happened in 2011. We had a huge burst of liquidity. Then I was like, okay, there was a top. There was a June of 2011 top of Bitcoin. And let me check to see what happened beforehand. And what do you know? We have huge bursts of liquidity, right, following the great financial crisis in 2009. So I was like, okay, this is a pattern. There's always a money supply top preceding the Bitcoin top. Then I was like, okay, let me see how this cycle looks, right? So then what I see is here, look, we haven't had that money supply top yet at all. And we even went negative. There was money being destroyed out of the system because of all the tightening that the government had to do in order to stop inflation from going wild. And we're going to get that apparently peak QE, right? The money supply top, as I call it. A lot of people think I say PQE and they say, what's that? But we're going to get that money supply top next year in 2026. So, okay, so the money supply top always precedes the Bitcoin top. So I'm like, okay, QE stimulates the economy. Then, what else stimulates the economy? Obviously, rate cuts encourages investment. Money starts flowing. People can start getting hired. Businesses take loans. More people are employed. And they all spend more on risk on assets. So let me look at the rate cut history. So last cycle, as we know, at the same time, we had the huge burst of QE in 2020 because of COVID. We had a sudden drop of interest rates. And we had some mild cuts in 2019. So, okay, falling interest rates or very low interest rates always precede a Bitcoin top, the same way bursts of liquidity from QE precedes the Bitcoin top. So then I was like, okay, let me go back to the previous cycles and see what interest rates look like. Now, interest rates in the past, in 2017, only has been started to get raised, right, in the 2017 cycle. They had just come up from being zero in 2008 for many years. So interest rates were zero for the first three cycles, the 2011 cycle, the 2013 cycle, and then in 2017 there were a few rate hikes in the end. Still, interest rates very, very low. So you're talking about 25 basis points each. It didn't get to 1%. Interest rates weren't 1% until June of 2017, right? And then we had our top, we had our Bitcoin top in December 2017 when interest rates were only 1.25%. So it's still very, very, very low. The encouragement of investment, money flowing. Then I started to look at the ISM PMI. So the ISM PMI is the Institute for Supply Chain Management Purchasing Manufacturers Index. So it is a group of indexes. It's a group of indexes weighed together, such as new orders, production, employment, suppliers and deliveries, and inventories. So it's basically referred to as the business cycle. Well, you can see here how it goes up. It goes up and down. It has its cycles up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Going back to 2011, this is the 2011 cycle, right? Bitcoin's 2011 cycle. You see it going up. And if we do like this, they all line up. This right here is the 2013 cycle. You can see right here, look. It lines up. This is 2013 cycle, right? Now you zoom in more going down here. We're going to get over to this is a 2017 cycle, right? When PMI goes up, that's when risk on assets go up. That's when Bitcoin goes up, right? Now we're going to zoom in further. We're going to go down. And right here, we got the 2021 cycle. It's huge, right? Look at that. That's the 2021 cycle right there. And now, what we haven't had PMI go up at all. It's just been staying this way, going sideways for a very, very long time. It's been like we've been in our bear market when it comes to assets in general, right? When it comes to the business cycle, we've been in our bear market. Now, the only anomaly here, the reason why Bitcoin might be going up a little bit here, right? It might be going up and trending upward while PMI is staying sideways is because there are new factors that are coming into play during this particular cycle with Bitcoin, right? There are institutions buying in, so that's driving the price up. And there's ETFs that are also driving the price up. Now boomers are coming into the market and they're buying Bitcoin. So the price is being driven up just because of that, not necessarily because of liquidity, because it's not there, not from QE, because there hasn't been any QE, not from low interest rate cuts because, interest rates have been high this entire cycle. It's just there has not been any liquidity in the market to push risk on assets up. So a lot of things now look like 2019 to me, right? So in 2020, we had a huge burst of quantitative easing. We had sudden drop of interest rate in 2020. We had stimulus checks in 2020. In 2019, we had mild cuts of interest rates in 2019, and we had an end of QT in 2019. This is like a mirror image of what's happening right now, what's going to happen, right? We're getting an end of QT next week. We've had mild cuts of interest rates already. We're going to get a sudden drop of interest rates when Jerome Powell gets replaced with Trump's pick next year. We're going to get a huge burst of quantitative easing next year. And we might, who knows if it's going to happen, we might get those dividend checks that are coming from the tariff revenue. So everything that happened in 2019 and 2020 appears to be happening in 2025 and 2026. What happened after 2019 and 2020? There was a massive bull run starting in October. The bull started running in October of 2020, and they didn't stop running for 13 months up until the top of 2021, in November of 2021. So basically in this timeline, when I'm considering 2019, I think we are around here. We are here right now. All right, this is 2019. I think we're going down. We're here. We have a scenario where people are dumping because they believe it is a bear market that is starting and it's going to be like a crypto winter. And what they're doing is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because they're dumping because they think there's a bear market, but they're causing a bear market. They're causing this pullback right now. And I think it's more going to be like a rubber band. They're just pulling and pulling and pulling. And it's going to be like bam, we're just going to go up very, very soon. This is my belief. We're going to end up in a bull run, a bull market. It's going to start running and it's going to seemingly not stop for around 13 months, give or take, right? It'll look like this, right? So here's the top of 2021. Here we are back here in early 2020, right? We might be going down a little bit right now in the end of 2025, but I think in the long run, you see here 2020, I think that 2026 is going to look like this. And then 2027 is going to be like this. And I think it's crazy the amount of YouTubers out there right now that are telling everybody that we're going into a crypto winter. It's like so absolutely crazy. The same YouTubers that are saying that right now, that are so bearish, that we're in a bear market, were the ones that were saying just a couple months ago that they think that we're going to have a big bull run end of year and it's going to keep on continuing on up until January of 2026. It's going to be that strong where the bulls are going to start running in October and it's not going to end until January and February. Now, this whole time I've been saying, but how? There's not enough liquidity in the markets to provide for that. There's no way that could happen, right? And now that everything is going down, they're telling everybody that we're in a bear market, we're in the crypto winter that's about to start, that is starting for the next 12 months, and it's causing so many people to start dumping right now. So they're creating all these red candles right now just because they think there's going to be red candles. It's just the way it is. I think they're going to be in for a huge surprise. Because based on this, if you think about it, there was never really a 4-year cycle to begin with. It was just a coincidence that Bitcoin's third and fourth cycle were 4 years and appeared to match the halving. In fact, as I looked into this more and more and gave this some thought, I realized that the last cycle that ended in 2021 should have ended in 2022. It should have been 5 years. The only thing was that COVID happened and it caused this sudden burst of liquidity in the economy and it pulled that cycle top a year forward. If it had happened naturally, it probably just would have happened in 2022. So if that were the case, the 2017 cycle would have been the only cycle that would have been 4 years. And as events have it, the majority of people in crypto have only experienced this cycle and the last cycle. So their perception is that cycles are always 4 years. So when they hear all these YouTubers telling them that, they're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And I think it's a damn shame because you have all these YouTubers telling everybody that the cycle is over and their followers are getting out of the market and they're leaving and they're going to be hit with a huge surprise and it's really going to suck for them. And My community is well prepared for this. I'm Code Monkey Mike. I'm a software guy. I run a community called Crypto Rich. Me and my team develop software to help our community members, well, obviously become crypto rich. But we have tons of tools, a lot of software, a lot of highly, highly advanced bots. We scan thousands and thousands of tokens every day, everything about them, everything, their tokenomics, their supply, their founders, their activity on X, and so on and so on, their fundraising, everything about them. We scan all these tokens, thousands of them every day, and we pull out the best ones at a very, very low market cap that are going to do those 100Xs, those 500Xs. You can see here, this is this, right? Obviously you can take a look at last year if you go to the website, but you can see here, this is just this year. A lot of these tokens are either from May and June, or they're from September and October. Whenever we have a green month, we go absolutely flying, right? Like I said, 500X, we did a 500X on MYX. We got in at a 6 million market cap. We rode that up to 3 billion. So we did that quite a bit on quite a few of them. And one of the other things we're doing, aside from those advanced bots, we have swing trading software to keep track of our trades. We've been swing trading at the bottom, right? Selling high, buying back in low, same quantity of money in dollars, but buying more tokens back in low. And we increase the size of our bags, we increase the amount of tokens we have. So when things do start to run, when things start to turn into something like this, right? And I think it's just a few months out. Look, now QT is ending right now, next week. QE is going to start. Interest rates are going to keep on coming down, but it's not going to happen right away. It's not going to be like, okay, QT ends next week, and then we're just going to start flying to December. We might have a nice end of year rally, a recovery rally at least, but it's not going to be the bull run, right? It might be like few months out. It might be 3 months. It might be 4 months, but it's going to start, and it's going to start relatively soon in the grand scheme of things, early next year, early to mid next year, 2026, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop, and it's going to surprise the heck out of everybody. Not financial advice, but this is what I truly believe. I'm betting everything on it. And we're doing a pretty damn good job so far, right? Because if you look at these gains, we must be doing something right. And these gains are going to be absolutely phenomenal. Like there's probably a good 50 to 100, at least 100 coins that we're playing in my community. They're going to at least 10x, at least. I would say there's probably a good 20 or 30 of them that are going to 100x. And there's going to be that top 5 or top 2 or 3. They're going to be up there, are going to be in those 1000x ranges. So click the link in the description below if you want to be a part of a community that doesn't believe in all this weird TA stuff that sort of describes how something is going to happen this way just because it happened that way last cycle. They're only looking at charts. They're only looking at what Bitcoin did in a previous year, in a previous cycle, but they're not examining what the money supply did in previous years. They're not examining what the governments did, what the interest rates did. They're not examining anything like that. They just have these blinders on, and they just can't focus on the bigger picture and the broader picture. They just don't understand that the last 2 cycles happen to match the halving because it was coincidental that the business cycle, the PMI, happened to match that 4-year cycle. If it's not 4 years this time around, then the crypto cycle is not 4 years. That has nothing to do with the halving. It never did. So if you like this content, give the video a like, give me a subscribe, and consider joining because statistically, so far, I have the most successful group. I mean, look at this. Look at this track record. Does any other group have something like this? Right? There are even tokens on here I haven't even added in yet. We've had a bunch of 5x's and 10x's I haven't even put in here yet. But I mean, is there any other group that has anything like this? Is there any other group that has all the tech I just described to you? Swing trading software, all-time high alerts to let us know is a good time to sell. We have alerts when our tokens have gotten a new centralized exchange, right? They don't have to randomly go in CoinMarketCap and examine their centralized exchanges and wonder if they got a new one. If they had 29 yesterday, maybe they have 30 today. You know, we know exactly when and what centralized exchange our tokens have gotten. Everything is well organized, and we're well prepared for the bull run that has not even gotten started yet.